Yes.
Shout out. The Connects.
Thank you, Gabe.
Luis Guzman. Don't ever go.
Yes.
Never leave my side.
Yes.
Passion's all I have.
Yes.
Courage is my drive.
Yes.
And if I lost you, I would
Welcome,
lose it
welcome
altogether.
everybody to another episode 4 of I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast. As you guys know, we bring on here great people with a great story, get to know them a little better, get to know their story, where they came from, what trials and tribulations they've gone through, and how they rose above that to be the great person that they are today. And I have a special person in studio today, legendary person in the boxing business, a very dear friend of mine, a role model, I will say, for me. This guy is just, I'm glad to call him a friend. And, I have the honor and the privilege to have him here today for my 4th episode. And I am talking about none other than the gentleman, Gerry Cooney. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Gerry.
Hey, thank you, bro. You're making me blush, bro.
Oh, stop, man.
Stop
Come
being
on.
so nice to me, bro.
Bro, you're great. You deserve your flowers. You deserve your moment in the sunshine, and for people to know, the greatness that you are as a person, not just in boxing, but also as a person. That's how I know you. I mean, when I first met you, I was putting up your fence. I didn't know much about boxing. I'm like, who's this Gerry Cooney? I did my research. I asked my father, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. Not just we're going to talk about the boxing aspect, but as a person, I was drawn in by how good of a soul you have as a person. And a lot of people, they get the glitz and glamour, but they lose themselves in the process.
Well, just play it forward. That's all. You do the best you can and help the next person you can and keep moving. That's all. And it's a great life we have. We're afforded to have a great life. Look at I'm in the studio with you, bro.
I'm very thankful, brother. A little sweaty, but the budget's getting worked on. We're gonna hopefully turn this is a passion project now, but hopefully, down the line, Lord willing, we're gonna continue to grow, and I'm just thankful that you're part of the process.
Very exciting,
Gerry.
very exciting.
Really appreciate it. I ask this to everybody that comes on the show, and I'm gonna ask you the same thing. It's how I set the tone. Who is Gerry Cooney? Heavy question.
So many different facets of Gerry Cooney. I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of success, a lot of great things, some bad things. I love people. I hurt people. I have it all. Today I'm able to turn the page and get on my life and have a great life. Like you said, I'm on the radio, Sirius XM.
That's right.
A couple times a week. We promote boxing. It's a great show. Randy Gordon, Gerry Cooney boxing show on Sirius XM channel 156 every Monday,
Absolutely.
every Friday Eastern time from 12 to 2. And I just finished a book. Finished a book called Gentleman Gerry.
Absolutely, the Gentleman Gerry. John Grady wrote that with you, right?
Told the story a little bit about my life and made peace with a lot of it. And it wasn't until I really read the book that I was able to really appreciate so many facets of my life and the places I went and the mistakes I made and how we pick ourselves up. We get knocked down in life, but we pick ourselves up, dust off our pants, and keep moving.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. And it's crazy you say that, because I resonate with that, because I've gone through ups and downs and I pick myself up every single time. And that brings me to my first question. So, you started off and, you had a pretty tough childhood growing up, and you used a lot of that fear to help you create the passion you have for boxing, right?
Well, no, fear and anger, actually.
Anger.
Yeah, I was
Can
so
you talk a
angry
little bit about that?
for what was going on in my household. My father was a raging alcoholic. I had 5 brothers and sisters. All the boys got it bad.
Right.
And we learned a lot of negativity. You're no good. You're a failure. You're not going to amount to anything. Don't trust anyone. And so all these things were put in our head growing up, because that's where my father came from. And unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to have somebody help him not feel that way. And so he passed that on to us. And thank God today that none of my brothers and sisters have passed that forward. And
God bless, man.
Listen, we keep walking, and our as human beings, we want to figure it out. We want to understand and then turn the page and move on. And that's what I've been blessed to be able to do with a great higher power, and some mistakes along the way.
But that's part of the deal, right?
That's
I
part
mean,
of the deal.
we're human. We're going to make mistakes throughout
That's
the
right.
process, but the final result of understanding and appreciating the journey and learning from mistakes is the biggest takeaway, Gerry. So, that means a lot to me as well, because I also grew up in a home where, my father, and he wasn't around as much. And I had to stop that generational curse of not having the father in the household. And you stopped your generational curse of what your dad instilled in you as far as not being abusive or the alcoholism. How did you get to that journey, and what were the ups and downs leading up to actually getting to that moment where you were healed from your pain?
Well, listen, obviously, all of us, my oldest brother left at 15.
Wow.
My other brother left at 16. I left at 17. And you can only take so much. And, so we were left with a lot of scars, a lot of uh, pain, a lot of confusion. And we had to find our way. And unfortunately, in those situations, you tend to attract other sick kids. And
Yes.
drinking is a part of it, drugging is a part of it. And you kind of numb out from that pain and that confusion and that fear and the anger,
Right.
and you just don't deal with it for a while. And then when that starts to wear off and that doesn't work anymore, then you got to deal with the fact, oh yeah, that's right. I came from this kind of a background. I got to make peace with it. In order for me to go on and to have a healthy relationship, I got to figure all this stuff out. And along the road, you meet people. As long as you're, they say if you put your hand out there, always someone will take it. And
Yes.
fortunately for me, that was a blessing. And I get to play that forward now with other people.
And that's the ultimate, like gift, right? Or like the return on investment is you actually blessing other people's lives,
Well,
and kind of returning the fear for the pain and that you went through, and the struggle you went through. Because I know that you actually founded Fighters Initiative for support and training. It helps retired boxers find jobs, right?
I have. I was always the kid that was looking for someone to show me the way. And there was no one to show me the way. I had to find myself through my anger and through my fighting ability. I won the New York State Golden Gloves Championship
That's
twice.
right, 1973, right?
I
That was
made
the
it to
first
the
time.
finals 3 times. I
Yes.
fought on the United States team. I made it to the finals of the Olympic trials in 1976. And I had 4 knockouts in Europe. I came back. I knocked out the third-ranked Russian heavyweight champion in the Garden, and I got the phone call that I made it to the finals of the trials, and I didn't go. They
Why?
called me, and I told them, "I'm sorry, I can't make it. My father's sick," and that was
Ah,
true. But I hated my father, and really, what it was, I didn't have the self-esteem. I'm not good enough. What am I going to go there and make an ass of myself? And I never took the biggest opportunity of my life, and maybe I couldn't have made it, but I
right.
could have had that experience. And in today's time, I tell everybody, we have to find a way to get to that place and to take that shot. Who knows? Maybe I could have made it to the Olympics. Maybe I could have won the gold medal. Maybe that'll be questions in my mind for the rest of my life.
Do you think it was the fear that your dad instilled in you that, kind of stopped you from pushing forward in that moment, trying to go to the Olympics? And was that fear also what drove you even harder to box in the future? Where, because I mean, you were quoted saying that fear is necessary reality for boxers.
Well, you say fear all the time, and I'm saying, yes, that was a big part of it, but it was also anger that allowed me to get in the ring and wait for the bell to ring. And once the bell rang,
You
we
let
got to
loose,
fight. We got to fight, and we got
right?
to get it out. And unfortunately for me, I was a big puncher, and I knocked a lot of guys out, and I won championships, and I had great wins, and obviously, I found my way. They put my picture in the paper, so it made me somebody. Where I came from at home, I hid in the basement. If you couldn't see me, you wouldn't hurt me. And then I
Wow.
became a fighter, and they put me on the back page of the Daily News. Seemed like every week, and I won the middleweight title, and so it was. I was somebody.
So what were those feelings like for you to process that you came from a home of fear and now you're actually in the spotlight, you're on the daily news. Everyone loves Gerry Cooney. He's knocking everybody out. But how do you handle that as a young man still dealing with the fear and anger of what you dealt with
Well,
as a child?
well, your whole thing is that at that particular time, I'm also drinking with my buddies.
Ah,
We're having beer, so I'm not dealing with it. I'm just
you're
numbing it out.
masking it. Yes.
And so, at some point, you come to a line in your life, which for me, it was like 31 years old. And you realize, okay, it doesn't work anymore. I'm not getting anywhere. Someone told me, spend a half an hour and write down what it was like the last 3 times you went out and drank and on one piece of paper. And when I did that, at the end of every story, it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't even working. It was misery, and that was what opened the door for me to start saying, well, maybe I got to find another way.
It was self-defeating. And at 31 years old, you said you had that moment. Was there a particular moment in your life that made you snap and say, I got to stop doing this? Was there something that happened, a situation or?
Well, yeah. I mean, I lost my shot at the heavyweight championship of the world for one. Plus, I couldn't sustain a relationship. I got into these relationships with these beautiful women,
Right.
but they were defect. They were bruised too. And so every time we got to a certain point, I left.
I
And
see.
that was painful. And so there's a lot of parts going on, a lot of painful parts that we had to deal with, and we have to look at. And with the help, we can't do it by ourselves. And
Absolutely.
I was able to put down the booze, put some time between me and numbing myself out. Let's face it, I started drinking at 12, and here's a story. I drank a bottle of Boone's Farm apple wine, and I got so sick, and I crawled around this party. But the next day, when I made it home, I got up. I forgot about that being sick, and I felt like, wow, this pain that I've been struggling, this hole in my chest went away. I felt attractive. I fit in. I was funny. I could talk to the girls.
Right.
And for the next 20 years, I drank it that unfortunately, or fortunately, because it kept me alive. And then I was able to, put it down, understand, learn through the steps and help from people where I went wrong. And I wasn't broken. I was bruised.
Yes.
And that I could get well if I, put a set of principles together and change my life. And that's been my experience. And it's been a great experience.
And when you did have that breakthrough, Gerry, that you found out your alcoholism was connected to your childhood trauma, did it feel like a weight off your shoulders? I mean, in therapy, they have this thing called breakthrough. When I found out I had abandonment issues from my father, I mean, the water faucet came on for like 10 minutes, bro. I couldn't stop crying because I was trying to, I was also hurt people hurt people. They say that a lot in therapy. And I was consistently hurting people in my life, but it's because I wasn't dealing with my own pain.
Well, the whole thing is it's a lifelong process. There's no quick fix. There's no
Yes.
like stop the whole up. It's trial and error. You're gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna make amends. I'm gonna screw up. I'm gonna fall down. I gotta get up, start over again. It's a big process when you grow up in a dysfunctional, sick family upbringing. And, obviously I had 5 brothers and sisters. I had 3 brothers, and we kind of all had our hiding place in the house.
Right.
So we never really got close.
Right.
And then, when I found recovery, and I found, that there was answers to be found and the confusion could go away, I tried to pass that on to my siblings, but not everybody can take it. And, unfortunately, at some point you got to just pick your pants up and move on. Obviously, it's a great life today. It was a long process. It is a long process. It's not a process that ever ends.
It's a
Because
consistent everyday practice.
Those
at it.
voices can still show up in the back of your head, and they can still tell you you're not good enough. You can't make it. Don't bother trying. And you have to really learn a set of principles to quiet those voices down and stand up for yourself.
And what are those set of principles that you live through day in and day out that help you get through every day, without being tempted to, fall back into the negativity?
Well, there's a process. We have a set of defects of character that we've developed that took care of us. So we thought those years
Yes.
that we have to learn to rid ourselves of. And it's a long process, and it's a painful process because you got to make amends. You get angry, you say dumb things,
Mhm.
and you have to learn to keep your mouth shut and to go to bed. And, I'd go to bed and I would say to myself, don't say it
Right.
to my wife. And I would say it, and we'd be fighting.
Yes.
And so I learned to keep my mouth shut and get up in the morning. I feel rested. I don't feel the same, and change, make those changes, and they become less and less powerful. That sound, and the healthy guy comes out, and those voices become louder and more enjoyable and more profitable.
And the healthy guy that you are today, I mean, it was always in you, but like you said, it was a struggle day in and day out because you were still learning who you were as a young man. And obviously boxing was the main, focal point that got you through the pain and anger
Right.
and you excelled in. And let me ask you this: do you feel that with your boxing career, what changes would have been there if you had been healed earlier? Then
That's a great question, and the answer to that question is we don't know, and I could be dead. When I was fighting Larry Holmes for the heavyweight championship of the world, President Ronald
Ronald Reagan.
Reagan
Yeah, I heard about
had a
that.
phone in my room to answer, and life would have changed. Could have been. It was fast as it was. I was just a little kid from Long Island, and then all of a sudden they got thrown in the fast lane, and we're not necessarily really equipped to handle that fast lane. And so who knows where I'd be today? I know that today I'm in great shape. I was fortunate enough to know that when I was fighting that the rainy day was coming. And I
Right,
had to put my money away. I had to protect myself and think about that day when boxing wasn't going to work for me anymore.
right.
And when I had to turn the page, that's a very difficult task to take because
That's
we
what you
become
love.
so, enamored with the roar of the crowd. When I came out of the dressing room and you hear that crowd come alive, it makes you magical.
It's adrenaline.
And you can't wait to get in that ring and for the bell to ring so you can perform and set the guy up and find the openings. And that's very difficult to get away from. And most fighters spend a lot of years, extra years, when they really are not, don't have the heart for it, staying in it because they have nowhere else to go. So you got this guy that wanted to become a world champion. Then he figures, well, I can't be a world champion. Let me be a contender.
Right.
Then that stops working. Then you become a sparring partner. Then you start to, lose a step and you lose your money. You have no money. You get disillusioned. You get hurt. You get angry at the game that you love so much. And we have to find our way back. And those are the people I like to address and tell them, come on, sit down and let's have a talk and let's figure this out. And it's a difficult thing to look at
Yes, because
because
you
you
have to
got
examine
substance
yourself.
abuse,
Yeah.
you got alcoholism, you got
Father issues, mommy issues,
neglect, you got your
abandonment.
pain, you got all these things that you have to address as they appear, as they rear themselves.
Do you feel, Jerry, that every boxer is hurt internally?
I think that boxers come from, who wants to grow up and become a fighter? I mean, there are people, but basically, we come from not the greatest backgrounds. Not, I can't say all of them. I've seen a lot of guys that have had great backgrounds, but a lot of guys don't. And boxing is the way to express your anger, and to make you somebody.
So that's like a common thread that every boxer shares is that anger that they have inside that they have to let out with an outlet, which is
Well, I
boxing.
mean, listen, when the bell rings, there's nobody in there. You got to fight. And there's no one that's going to help you out in that ring. It's not like football where you got
You got
eight
a
or nine
team
other
with you.
players. When the bell rings, you're all alone and you got to listen to your corner. You got to make adjustments. You got to have this rolling while that fight is happening. You got 3 minutes to figure it out. Where's this guy weak? Where's his weak points? Where can I capitalize? When can I catch him? And that's a great process, that world-class period in your life where you can create the openings and then land.
It kind of sounds like life, right?
Well, it is life, and
Boxing is life. If you think about it, like those 3 minutes, it's like an
well,
eternity.
it's a tough life, bro. You never been in there in the ring, but when you're in there, and you got 5 or 6 sparring partners every day looking to kick your ass. You
Shit.
got to really stay on top of your game. And if you're drinking and not taking care of yourself, if you don't change the oil in your car, if you don't get the gears lubed, the transmission, it's
It
not going
falls
to run
apart.
right. So you not taking care of yourself. I spoke to Larry Holmes about it. A few months ago, he said that when he was fighting, he never drank, never drugged,
Hmm.
never smoked. And that's a great thing. I wish I had that. I could have been way better than I was. I could have been a better challenger to Larry Holmes. And that being said, I fought one of the greatest heavyweight champions of
Absolutely.
all time. I'm very proud about that. And him
Oh
and I are
man,
very good friends about good
yeah,
friends.
listen, Larry Holmes has said in an interview, he said, when I stepped up to Jerry before we touched gloves, I said, let's have a great fight. And he
That's
said,
right.
your facial expression just changed.
Well,
What
I
was
was
that
so
about? Like,
angry
uh-huh.
because there was a lot of racism going on and this white, black, and it was not about me. And what I came to find out, it wasn't about him either. It was about the outside world
Correct.
creating this atmosphere that made us very angry. And I just wanted to fight for the title. He was angry because, the same things I was angry about. And then when we got in the ring and during instructions, he said, let's have a good fight. It was like, I was so mad at him.
How did that feel when he said that?
Well, athletes are athletes. They're great people.
Hmm.
And, you got, if I gotta fight him. I'm not gonna be liking that dude.
Right.
But when it's all over and said and done, it's a tough job description what we went through.
Right.
And so we kind of can appreciate each other's strengths and talents and experience.
You guys are great friends to this day.
We are.
Ever
We are good
since that
friends.
fight. And
That's right.
that brings me to my next point because, with that fight, Gerry, it was your biggest payday. It was Larry Holmes' biggest payday. What was the pressure like at that time to perform when you had a big gap of a year between your last fight?
Yeah, well, I had torn my rotator cuff. I had some injuries, and Don King didn't let me fight as much as I would have liked to have had a few more fights leading up to the Holmes fight. Had I did, I probably could have been better and more experienced. Every time you get in the ring and you fight, you learn a lot.
Right.
And so I missed out on a lot of that experience. Plus, I was drinking, not taking care of myself. And, listen, it happens and you do the best you can. And I think I did. I fought my heart out.
Absolutely, man. 28-3.
And when in that fight, it was 115 degrees out that night,
Wow.
much like it is in this room right now.
I told you it's not in the budget. We're working on it.
And we had a great fight. He had a lot more experience than me. I learned so much that night from fighting him. I don't know why we didn't have a rematch. The fight was good enough to have a rematch. It never happened back in them days. And
why was that? I mean, was this just promotion? Was not?
It was
it was
so
a slimy
distasteful.
business.
It was so distasteful that fight promotion. My managers, I didn't get along with my managers. They were, in it for the big
Dennis
payday.
And Mike?
Yeah, they were in it for the big payday, and which is what they're supposed to do. But they're also supposed to, make me the best I can be.
Right.
And that didn't happen for me, and I felt that way. And so, listen, it is what it is. I'm here today. I have a great life. I got a great family, 3 great kids,
Absolutely.
a beautiful wife.
God bless.
And I'm living the dream. I got a new fence, bro.
Hopefully more coming, man.
Yeah.
Let me ask, because you said about, you have a great life now. Can you tell me a little bit about Victor Vale?
Victor Valley, his name is. He was a great trainer. He came over here from Puerto Rico.
Was he really?
He was, as a kid, he had no father. And he was a great lightweight fighter. He used to train with Canzanieri, all those tough fighters back in the day.
Uh-huh.
And he made some great champs. He had Alfredo Escalera. He had Billy Costello. He had a bunch of champions. And we were like father and son. And he was a great trainer. But I think what happened was in the fight with Holmes, they knew I was abusing my body drinking. And so he trained me harder. And so it was like burning the candle on both ends.
I got you. Yeah, we're burning out.
And so, but lack of experience and whatever it was. And it would happen the way it did. And I got stopped in the 13th round that night.
He stopped the fight, right?
And so that's how it ended. And I struggled with that because I didn't want to lose. I was not a loser.
What were the feelings after that fight?
Well, it was a great fight.
Absolutely.
But I didn't win. So that you're not good enough, you're a failure, you're not going to, came back to me, and I disappeared again out into the world and traveled and partied and played and made some mistakes and never was the same again. I never really had the fight or the drive as I had in that fight.
After that fight.
Yeah.
Do you feel, Gerry, like that's your biggest regret, if you even have a regret in boxing?
I don't have a regret anymore. I did for a while.
You're at peace with it.
I fought Michael Spinks. I fought George Foreman. I was
Ken Norton.
Terrible.
George Foreman said you hit him the hardest that anybody has ever hit him in his life.
Yeah, he's a great man. He's a great champion. But my most embarrassing moment was when I fought Michael Spinks because I was drinking, going right into the ring. I was not in any kind of shape. The fight was on, it was off, it was postponed. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen. By the time I got in the ring, I didn't believe the fight was happening, and I wasn't in any shape. And I got stopped in 5 rounds, and it was another process for me to get to the finish line to figure, okay, it's not working for me anymore. I got to turn the page and start getting on with my life. And that's been a great experience ever since.
So can you describe that great experience now that, now we're looking at the other side after boxing?
I had a lot of work to do. I had to put down alcohol. I got to figure out what caused me. to go that route. Why am I in this pain? Why am I so confused? Where am I going to go? What am I going to be? When all my whole identity has been a fighter.
Yes.
And so that's not working anymore. So that that shut down, and I got to really look at life.
Was it a lot of therapy?
It was just putting down the drink, and it exposed itself
I see.
to me, and I really kind of read books and did therapy and went to program and met great people, and they shared their experience, I shared my experience, and we kind of grew better from it.
And it's, you say all this to me, Jerry, and I remember when I first met you, I just saw a bubbly, great man with a big heart, very charismatic, very funny, very charming. And you never stop to think for a minute, wow, the pain that we go through as human beings that shape us. But yet we wake up every day, we show up, we put a smile on our face. I would have never thought when I first met you that this is what you went through in the past. So the strength that you show right now, where you're at in your life, I mean, that has to be inspiring to people that are stuck in the place you used to be at. What would you
Well,
say to those people that are still stuck
the
in
story
that
is
place?
Luis, is that you have to learn to get on. You can you can't keep looking back. You can't. There's an old saying that I can keep putting my foot in yesterday and putting my foot into tomorrow, but God is not there. God is in today.
Yes. Amen.
And so I can keep, it took me a while to get rid of that pain of how can you have a father that beats you half to death all the time
Jeez.
and tells you you're no good. And,
You start to
I
believe it.
spend my life building my kids up, building them up because everybody else is putting them down.
And that's the blessing, though. That's the return on investment for what you went through is now your kids.
Well, it's just the right thing. It's just the right way to be. That's how you're supposed to, give your kids everything to make them successful and happy and prosperous and, being available in any situation. I was just stuck for a while. And,
What it's inspiring to hear that, Jerry, because again, I mean, my father, and I dealt with the same type of issue with my father where he was never around for me. And I had that conversation, and now he'll do anything for me. So I've forgiven him for what he's done in the past. And I see, you're on that same path.
I mean, I never had the opportunity to sit down with my father and explain or talk to him or have a conversation about it. But I've had to make peace with him, or else I couldn't get moving. I couldn't move forward. I had to make peace with my mother. How to make peace with my trainers, my managers. You have to let it go at some
Yes.
point to go, because no one's waiting for me here. No one's waiting for me. People keep moving.
Absolutely. If you keep that mentality, you're stuck. And like you said, you're not moving anywhere, you're not changing lives, and you're not bettering yourself. And you just stopping that generational curse and being the great father you are to your children, that has changed their lives, leaps and bounds.
Well, you just give them love. I mean, it's what I was looking for. My wife has it in her. What happens to us is when you grow up that way, you also attract sick people,
Yes.
people that are unavailable. And it's a process. At some point, I had to stay alone for a year and take myself golfing, sailing, hiking,
Reassess everything.
traveling, and grow up myself and find out what it is I like about life. And then that's attracted to you. And then you have someone that you can work with. And that's been my experience. And, it's hard for people. We keep doing this like Groundhog Day. We keep getting the pretty girl. She's dressed nice. She smells nice. Once the dust settles, she's crazy. And that's the story.
It's so true.
And then you get away from that.
Absolutely.
Then you attract another one. She's beautiful. She dresses nice. She smells good. When the dust settles, she's crazy. And so you have to stay alone for a while to find out what is it about Gerry Cooney that Gerry Cooney is attracted to. And then it was almost like
Wow.
a buddy of mine got a job at his accounting firm, BDO Seidman in New York City. And I was living in Florida in the winter, and he got a job for 2 months. He called me one day and put me on the phone with my wife.
Wow.
And I said, hello, how's it going? When I get back, we'll have lunch. And I got back, and we walked down the street holding hands.
What was the difference? How did that feel compared to what it was in the past?
I was not easy to deal with. I was fearful. I was like,
Closed off.
couldn't trust. I was better at it. And then so I was workable.
Do you feel like there's power in vulnerability?
Of course.
Because once you become vulnerable, I feel like that
You grow more.
you grow more.
You become more intimate. You become more loving, more caring. All those things I knew nothing about. Today, it is what I strive to be.
And you exude it. You give it to
Yeah.
people, man. I feel it when I first met you. I felt that, and
Yeah, why not?
I feel the people that have been through the worst battles in life are actually the most optimistic and positive.
I don't know that. I don't know
What do you
because I
think?
don't know those other people. You know what I mean?
I mean, I can only speak for myself as what I went through. Obviously, what you went through, and you're just like a beacon of light, man.
Listen,
to
the
people.
bottom line is that you got to realize that the story does end. And I can keep thinking about 1982 and 1984, all I want. But the story ends at some point. And do I want to stay there or do I want to move forward with life? And I chose from other people and all this stuff we talk about, I learned from other people is I want to keep moving. I want to reach the high note again. I want to get to the next high note. I want to be happy, joyous, and free. I want to be
Yes.
loving, caring, giving, and all those things that I never had. And we can do that.
Absolutely. There's life after what our passion is, right? And you mentioned something, Jerry. You said in the boxing world, when you were walking out to that ring and you felt that adrenaline and the crowd
Well, the
roaring.
roar of the crowd, it makes you magical. You go out, you leave, they knock on your door in the dressing room, and the commissioner says, Cooney, you're next. And you said, oh shit. You say, oh shit. And you're dressed up, you got your gloves on, you leave that room. And about halfway from the dress room to the arena, you could hear the crowd roaring. And that's when you become magical. And that's when you have that plan that you've put together, and you know that I'm going to make this work. Somehow I'm going to make this work.
Is there anything in life that you experience that gives you that same feeling like what you just said about walking out to the ring? Anything at all you can think of that can match that?
Meeting my wife, seeing my wife walk down the aisle,
Oof.
and having my children and friendships and travel and expression. I love to watch expression. I love to make people laugh. I love to see them in action. And
Yes.
there's so much to life that I was stuck in the past. I couldn't let it go. And it wasn't until I let it go that I realized, oh yeah, look
Look at all the blessings I have.
Yeah.
Look at the life that I've made for myself and my family, and focus on the good things, and you even forget the bad things even happen.
That's right.
You know? Man, Jerry, I thank you so much for such a real intimate conversation, brother, about, what you struggled with and what you went through and coming on the other side of that. Such a refined, retuned.
Yeah, I mean, listen, do I have regrets? Do I say, well, yeah, I would have wanted to win that heavyweight championship of the world. Had I fought Holmes when I fought Norton, I believe
Right.
I could have beat anybody in the world that night. That night I was ripped. I was tuned up. I was going to get it. I was going to figure it out. And, I fought Norton. I came out, and I always like to hit the guy with my shot and let him feel my power. And I hit him with a right hand to the body, and he kind of buckled a little bit. And I thought to myself, wow, let me take a shot here. Let me take a shot here. And I spun him into the corner and, put him to sleep. That night I could have beat anybody in the world. At that night, the pressures got to me, and I kind of waved off my track. I didn't stay on my path. I think that, everybody loved Gerry Cooney, and I was like digging that because I never had that all my life.
You fed off
And
of
I
it.
got distracted. And you can't be distracted in a game like boxing. You just
One
can't be.
minute off and that's it. Lights out, right?
Split second. That's it.
But isn't the journey
You only
beautiful?
you only get that timing, that world-class timing for a short period of time. And you have to be, addressing it every day to keep that level there. And if you're not,
I know it's a whole different, it's an entertainment sport, wrestling, but I heard a wrestler, Stone Cold, talk about that. He said, you only have the light and the spotlight for a certain amount of time, and you are addicted to that thing. Like, you're working your ass off every day. You're not even spending time with family. Your job is to always be in the spotlight of, being the focal point of the business. Is it like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's
is that true?
it's a great game, wrestling, but it's not real.
It's not real.
And you're lucky when you're Stone Cold because you get to be on the the high end of the turnout. You know what I mean?
Right.
For all the poor people that took a beating off of him. And those guys, they take beatings. They all get addicted to pain meds so they can
Yes.
do it. And it's a nightmare. Anyway, it's a great career. I had a lot of fun.
Right.
I met everybody I ever wanted to meet in my life. I was in a party in Caesar's Palace with Larry Holmes
I love
and
these stories, man. I love these stories. Go ahead.
for our fight. It was a pre-fight party.
Right.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael, uh, you know, Ali, Jack Nicklaus, Bob Hope, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra.
Wow.
Everybody
Mickey
you
Blue
could have
Eyes.
imagined was there. It was like, wow. And it was just like I was with a bunch of friends. It was like I was not enamored by it, but it was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look what my life has taken me to, where I'm in a room with these
Yeah.
people and we're just hanging out.
And that's also a very scary moment
Why is that?
when you grew up dysfunctionally, because you don't believe you deserve it. So you sabotage it.
But that's the kid inside of you telling you that.
Well, but
right?
unfortunately, the kid was 25. The kid was 30. You know what I mean? And he was
Right.
sabotaging it because out of fear of being a failure, or not showing up, not making, not being all that. And meanwhile, I had that all my life. I just couldn't allow myself to feel it.
But now you feel it. Or you're
What
still.
do you think, bro?
I think that. I mean,
I'm all good.
Again, you're freaking awesome, man.
Listen, I'm not awesome. I'm in the picture. I have a great life today. I do a lot of great things. I'm going this weekend. I'm going to be with Mark Wahlberg, his family.
Heck of
I'm
a
going
plug,
to
man.
Detroit. I'm going to play in the golf outing. They
Wow.
raise money for hospitals to help people get better. I want to be connected to those things. I've been doing charity my whole life because I was the less fortunate. And now I can, shake a hand. I can take a picture. I can
Make a
kiss the
change.
baby and help somebody's life be a little easier. And that's a gift. And the Wahlberg family, I mean, those guys, you talk about successful.
Oh, man.
And that's what they do. And that's what I want to be involved with. And I'm going to go there and give them guys a hard time this Sunday and Monday.
Nice. You're going to win that golf tournament.
No, I'm not going to play golf. I'm just going to drive around and take pictures.
Hands Aren't for Hitting program. You support that. What can you tell me a little bit about that?
Listen, I support anything for the betterment of life. I have done, every kind of charity you can imagine, 4 or 5 days a week for years, to try and help people get to a better place. Because when I was there, I had nobody to show me the way. I had to bang my head against the wall. I had to fall down, get up, and find my way. And so, it's dear to us, a lot of celebrities, that we get a chance to spend our time for the less fortunate person and make them feel like we feel.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a gift. And, and they deserve that gift. And, I've seen so many things. I mean,
you must have touched so many people's lives, man, that you don't even know. I feel.
Listen,
that must feel so good, man. I mean, that's what we're here to do. We're here to encourage, inspire, and make people see a different side of life that's good instead of bad.
Well, it's also, I have to tell you, it's also a lot of fun.
I agree.
You rub elbows with the guys, you tell stories, you listen, the people listen, you call their fathers who are big fans. How you doing? What's going on? Break their balls a little bit. That kind of stuff.
I'll tell you this, you made my father's day that day when you put him on the phone with Larry Holmes.
Great.
I mean, he couldn't stop talking about that for like 5-6 months.
Well, that's great.
So something like that's microscopic, minute thing, just to give my dad a sense of happiness made me feel happy.
Yeah.
And I never even had a chance to tell you that, one-on-one. I'm telling you now, but those are the small pieces in life that you add to other people that make them feel better.
Well, you're going to make me upset now. Stop. Thank you, guys. It's been great
Gerry,
fun.
man, thank you so much, man. Thank you for this intimate conversation, man. I have no more questions, but I did have one last one here. We'll end it with this. What advice, if any, would you give to somebody now listening to this podcast or who will listen to this podcast and is dealing with the demons and the struggle and the pain from trauma with family? and they got nobody in their corner, man. No pun
Tell
intended.
somebody about it. Tell somebody about it. Write about it. Read about it. Go to your teacher. Go to the counselor. Take a risk. Learn about what's going on because it's wrong. And it's the most valuable time of your life. You cannot be shut down. And unfortunately, there are sick people in this world. And it is changing. We're not putting up what we used to put up with, but there's a lot of people that it's hidden and it's not talked about. And the abuse tells you, don't tell nobody, don't tell nobody, don't tell nobody.
Because there's shame behind that.
It's not until you tell somebody that it starts to change, and you got to take that risk.
Gerry, thank you so much, brother, for your time, and thank you for this amazing, intimate conversation. And I'm telling you right now, this conversation here is going to help somebody and save somebody in whatever dark place they're in. And it's because of, the fact that you made some time for us today, and I'm very, very thankful for it, brother. Thank you again, baby.
See you,
Appreciate you, man. Don't knock me out now. Guys, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast. And please comment, like, and share on this episode here with the great Gerry Cooney. And let us know what you think, man. And more great content coming on the way. And I'm going to go get in the ring right now and go 12 rounds with Gerry.
Yeah, you're going to go to sleep right now, bro.
Knock me out with the left hook. That's it, guys. Have a great one. God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Peace and love.
You can't break my spirit. I'm a self-starter. Don't ever let me go. Passion, I need you, mama. Don't ever go.
I need you by my side. Without you, I would die. If there's no you.